By the time I was 21 years old, I was already deep in debt. I had made a bunch of bad financial decisions in my life. No 21-year-old deserves to go through so much financial trauma. It depresses you, it gives you anxiety, and it is my goal to help young kids and young adults through sharing my past stories. And I do have some horrible stories from my early 20s. And if you are a young man or possibly a little bit older and you're looking to learn more about making good financial decisions, this presentation is for you. Hey, what's up, family? Hope you guys are having a phenomenal start to your day. If this is your first time checking me out, hey, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, okay? It helps get my videos out there into the YouTube algorithms. Now, before I get started on the 5 money traps for young adults, I would like to read an excerpt from one of my all-time favorite books, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. This is a top 5 book. I think you should have this book in your library. It would definitely change your life. Now, here it goes. I will act now. My procrastination, which has held me back, was born of fear, and now I recognize this secret mind from the depths of all courageous hearts. Now I know that to conquer fear, I must always act without hesitation, and the flutters in my heart will vanish. Now I know that action reduces the lion of terror to an ant of equanimity. It is all about overcoming your fear in life, and it's all about overcoming your procrastination. So there is something that you have a deep desire to do and you haven't started on it. You must act now. Take baby steps, all right? But we must act now. Now, family, when it comes to money traps, these are some of the traps that I experienced in my younger 20s. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have some wisdom, some insight on possibly avoiding some of these mistakes in your early 20s, okay? Now, trap number 1 is credit cards. Now, when I was 18 years old, I joined the military, and when I arrived at my duty station, I started receiving letters in the mail from credit card companies, from finance agencies all across America. And I was filling out every credit card that came in the mail. I think I had about 12 credit cards. They would send these blank checks in the mail, $10,000, just sign this check and take it to the bank and cash it, and then we'll work out a repayment plan. Well, I maxed out all those credit cards and I got all those loans, but no one ever told me I had to pay them back, So, man, I was so deep in debt and there was no way that I could actually pay all these credit cards back. So what happened? Man, I started getting garnishments. My battalion will receive letters from all of these credit card agencies, all these financial agencies, and they were garnishing my check. And when I started at my duty station, this was in 95, I think I was making around maybe $850 a month, but you're staying on post. And so $300 were actually going to all these credit card bills. So you have the taxes taken out, $300 worth of garnishments, and it was an uphill battle. And I had to battle with, these credit cards and this problem from 95 all the way up until 2003 when, all that stuff was gone, all that stuff was behind me. And the only way I could have worked my way out of this debt was I had to establish some new credit. I had to pay down most of those credit cards, and I had to try to establish some new credit. So I applied for a credit card, a $500 credit card. I got it. It was about 30% interest, and that's how I had to work my way up. I had to have a $500 credit card with 30% interest, and I had that for a few years, then I was able to get a lot of that past bad credit off of my report. So 7 years, that stuff stays on your report, then it actually falls off. And then as it begins to fall off, it no longer negatively impacts you. Now what you have to do going forward is begin to establish new credit. But again, that was about 8 years, 7 or 8 years of just a miserable time, and it was a challenge. So again, minimize your credit card use, minimize the amount of credit cards you have. Now in 2022, there is some good to having a bunch of credit cards. If you are doing things correctly, you could use a bunch of credit cards to go and buy some real estate. You could start a business, and you don't have to go to the banks with the money. But when you're young, when you're starting out, and if you lack discipline, you must limit your credit card usage, and you must limit your access and availability to credit cards. Okay, at a young age, they are you're an emotional child. You're not a child, but you're an emotional young adult, and your emotions can get the best of you. All right. You can start emotionally buying things, emotionally taking unnecessary trips to unnecessary places where you're just building up that debt. So that is one of the first things you must understand as a young adult, is your credit cards or your credit is very, very important to you. All right. Number 2 is drugs and alcohol. Becoming addicted to drugs is a horrible thing. Drugs can destroy you. So can alcohol. If you have a problem with drugs, if you have a problem with drinking alcohol, I suggest you to get help immediately. Because if you don't get help, these problems will cause more problems. You're not going to be as effective. You're not going to be as responsible as in a young adult if you're out partying, using excess drugs, and using or drinking excess alcohol. Bad things can happen when you're drinking alcohol, especially if you're drunk and you're driving vehicles. If you're out partying, you can make a bad decision, and it can ultimately negatively impact the rest of your life. One bad night of drinking and doing drugs can alter the rest of your life. All right. So that's number 2. We must stay away from drugs and alcohol. Number 3 is new cars. When you go out there, you're a young adult, you're first, you've graduated from college, and you want to go out there and you want to make a car purchase. We must be smart about our purchases. The last thing you want to do is, start out with the average college graduate engineer is making about $48,000 a year starting out. And the last thing you want to do is go out there and get a $700 car payment and paying $150 to $200 car insurance that sets you up for failure. A $700 car payment and a $200 insurance bill will put a strangle on your finances. And I've seen it happen time and time again, where eventually those cars get repossessed. I've had cars repossessed, and that stays on your credit for 7 years. Start young. As a young man, you want to start, or as a young woman, you want to start with, the Hondas, the Toyotas. They are the best cars any young adult can have. The last thing you want to do is go out and get a BMW with high maintenance and a Mercedes with high maintenance. And that's something that people really don't take account when they're buying these cars, is the maintenance and upkeep. For certain Mercedes, it may cost $1,000 to get your brakes changed. And so one thing we want to do when it comes to buying vehicles, we want to make sure that we are making responsible decisions and buying something that first we can afford, And second, something that's mechanically sound. Now, if you buy a Honda Accord, you buy a Toyota Camry, or you buy a Lexus, you can almost but guarantee your mechanical reliability will be through the roofs. There will be very few times where you're going to have to go to shops and focus on paying a whole bunch of money for car repairs or for just routine maintenance. All right. Now, those are the things that you would want to focus on when it comes to buying a car. All right. Buy used. 3 to 5 years is the best thing you can do when you drive a car. When you first purchase a new car, it loses 10% of its value soon as it leaves the lot. OK, you don't want to do that. Let someone else lose that value. You buy your cars 3 to 5 years old. OK, and that's a win-win situation for you. All right. Number 4, rent to own. Do not go into these places where, as a young adult, you really don't have the money for the $2,000 worth of furniture. So they're going to charge you, $50 a week for 48 months. You don't want to get locked in to paying, $6,000 for something that ultimately would have cost $2,000 cash. All right. Take your time when it comes to buying and furnishing your first apartment. Take your time when it comes to buying and furnishing your first home. What you want to do is, man, there are a lot of consignment shops. There are a lot of places where you can go get some used furniture in good quality. You go over to the nice neighborhoods, the expensive areas, the expensive side of town where they have Goodwills and all these other places. You can find some phenomenal furniture. You can actually buy everything in your home on the size of town where you have the upper class folks, because they're always upgrading their stuff, and they always have, you can find some hidden gems in a lot of those Goodwills on the upper class side of town. All right. Avoid rent to own. You do not want to be paying $3,000 for a $1,000 television. You do not want to pay $4,000 for $2,000 worth of washers and dryers. All right. Rent-A-Center, that's how they make their money. They charge you high interest rates. It's a win. It's a lose-lose situation for you, and it's a win-win situation for them, because they're going to collect their money, and the month you stop paying, they're coming to take that back, and they're going to rent it to someone else. So they really want you to fail. They really want you not to make those payments, so they could take a little bit of money from you, take the product back, and give it to someone else and start their process all over again. So rent to own, Rent-A-Centers, and all these places are a huge money trap. And last but not least, scams and schemes. There are so many scams and schemes out there today being ran by, young adults. Don't get involved. Stay away from the scams. Stay away from the schemes. As a young man and as a young adult, you want to carry yourself with character. You want to carry yourself with integrity, and you want people to trust you. All right. You want people to trust you. You only have, a short period of time from 20 to 30 where you can truly enjoy your life and also prepare yourself for your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. And in your 20s, you will make some mistakes. You may do one of these things, or you may do all of these things. But it is my goal to help bring light to some of these issues right here that I experienced. And I see many other individuals having these same, dealing with these same adversities and dealing with these same problems. Now, when it comes to these money traps, I've experienced this. I've been a part of this. When it comes to presentations like this, I don't sit around and write things down. I don't have a teleprompter. I'm just speaking from personal experience. Stay away from the scams. Stay away from the schemes. You don't need it in your life. Okay. Now, family, if this video added any value to you, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and keep coming back for more wealth building information. Peace.